Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mario Balticum Gaming Virtual Summit. We are thrilled to be here. My name is Leanne Johnston, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Affiliate Insider and Leanne Johnston Consulting. I just want to say thank you very much for having us on this amazing panel. You're really in for a treat today. And I'd like to hand over to my esteemed panelists to introduce themselves and just let you know that they're here with us today. If you're in this meeting, can you just pop into the chat and say hi so that we know that you guys can hear us and see us and that we're good to go. So I'm going to hand over to our first panelist, which is Assaf. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Assaf Stieglitz, the CEO of odds1x2.com, an odds comparison company that was established way back in 2003 based on my background as a software engineer. Since then, we evolved, of course, because it was a long time ago. We have our own platform that covers 32 different sports types, from football to horse racing up to reality TV. And we serve our data in two ways. One is B2C through our network of affiliate sites. And one is B2B. We provide the services to other companies. I must mention that two of them are on the top 10 of the EGR list.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Martin?
Hello, everybody. I'm Martin Calvert. I'm Marketing Director at ICF Digital. We are an international marketing agency that specializes in gaming, operators and affiliates, but also a wide variety of other industries. We work mostly in SEO, content, and translations, along with many other things.
Amazing, thanks. Magith.
Hi everyone, super excited to be a part of this panel discussion. My name is Magith, I'm the Evangelist at Braze. Braze is a customer engagement platform based out of New York. I'm speaking to all of you today from London. My focus is customer engagement, which means I help brands to have more relevant and personalized conversation with their customers, talking about customer engagement strategy, and everything about engagement with the audience. That's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure if we've still got Eitan. I know that he was having a few little problems, but if he's there, he can introduce himself. If not, he'll pop back in and we'll just get him to introduce him when he comes in. So what I'm going to do is thank you
Martin. We forgot Martin.
No, we didn't.
No.
Martin.
Sorry.
I'm very forgettable. I apologize, everybody.
So we're getting some people chat to us as well, which is great. So we know that you're here, and we will try and stop for questions when we go through the session. But we've got quite a lot to cover today. So we're going to be talking about how our affiliates and marketing companies surviving during these uncertain times. And the first question that I wanted to ask you guys is, we're all working from home, we're all running our businesses, we're all working in isolation. What are the key things that you guys are seeing from businesses and affiliates that you're working with to consider during this really uncertain time? And hi, Eitan, you're back.
Hi.
Do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yes, sorry, I have some kind of connection issues. Very rare, but happens, I guess, in this situation. So my name is position in Betsson. Essentially, I do most of the marketing in Betsson with my Epic team. We do everything from concept to strategy execution across all channels. My background is mainly in SEO and lead generation. Know Martin very well from the past, know Leanne, Assaf, and Magith. It's a pleasure to meet you and pleasure to be on this panel. Let's do this.
Okay, so we're just going to kick off with the first question, which is now that we've all settled down into kind of working from home, isolation, and dealing with the pandemic that's happening worldwide, what are some of the key focus areas that your businesses and affiliates are taking into consideration right now? And I will kick off with Assaf.
Yes, I see actually this pandemic, of course, is a disaster to the business right now, but I see it's as a big opportunity to shake things, because we are all used to be on our comfort zones, and an event like this shakes everything and brings you to new ideas, new innovation, new way of thinking, think outside the box. All these cliches are working right now. So on our business, we have two hands. One is the affiliation side and one is the B2B side. Affiliation-wise, we are working to expand our offering to different things. We are heavily invested in sports betting. And now with the lack of sporting events, we had to focus more on verticals like casino that was neglected in the past. Nobody anticipated that there will be no sporting events at all. So we are focusing on enhancing our casino offering. We are also sport-wise focusing on esports, virtual sports that are not hurt by this pandemic. B2B-wise, as a company that provides on comparison solutions based on technology, we must heavily rely on innovative because we want to give our customers in the future, the current customers, the future for customers, new angles, new products to give their audience a better product.
Great. And I want to just quickly move on to Magith. I mean, I know your industry is super interesting in terms of dealing with customer engagement and user engagement. How are you seeing this change the way that businesses are thinking about their marketing strategies at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing, staying at home has like a lot of disadvantages, right? The first thing that I think of is Martin can second that, cutting hair, you can't go out now, beards are growing. It's like, it's not going good on that.
I take that very personally.
But on the other hand side, I would second to what Assaf just mentioned, like companies are becoming more innovative. So we see that in different industries. For example, if you look at food delivery companies, right? So demand has gone really up higher. So companies have to change their marketing strategy in a fraction of time, and companies are doing that, right? And when it comes to customer engagement, they are used to target these users, let's say in specific channels, for example, through push notifications or emails or SMS. And now they have to change the strategy because they see people tend to engage with emails more because they are staying at home. And this is different for different industries. For example, when I would consider online gaming competing directly with the entertainment industries as well, media and streaming. For example, who would have thought Netflix have to think about people heavily using educational apps, fitness apps when they are staying at home. And that means, casino industries, gaming industries have to compete with all those different industries which they have never thought they would have to compete against, right? So all these companies, they are using this time, to bring innovation that they have never thought before, because now if they wouldn't innovate, they are in the risk of losing business, right? And I think this is a great time for all these companies to rethink their strategies when it comes to customer engagement, and not just thinking about channels in terms of what is the right channel, but in terms of thinking about what are the channels that we can use to create the seamless connected customer experience, right? Which are more relevant to every single audience that you engage with on a daily basis. And I think that's the change that we are seeing.
And Martin, from your perspective, from the agency side, what are you seeing with some of the clients that you're working with?
Yeah, I think Magith has a really good point about this. The best thing you can do is to sensibly adapt to how your players, your customers are adapting. I think a lot of companies who haven't prioritized data in the past, who haven't prioritized getting to know their customers really in the past, because they've always had traffic, they've always had profit. So, why bother? I think they're starting to realize how that challenges them to become competitive, especially at times like this, that we don't want to repeat. But I think in future there will be more preparedness in case, future calamities occur. If we do have, sport going out again, or, regulations which we are more familiar with, can hit from all directions. So that preparedness and knowing the customer is important. And not everybody is reacting in the same way. Some people have always prioritized this. Some people are prioritizing it now. And some people, honestly, still have the head in the sand, and they could be doing better right now, even at this time of crisis. But they're not. So it's sometimes the people make the situation worse for themselves when they do have opportunities, they do have resources, and they do have the ability to plan for the future. The caveat to that is obviously there's some companies that are fighting for survival, and we have to have every sympathy with them. every kind of, element of support. But for me, because we see so much of the industry, and also not just gaming, but other sectors as well, you do see people perhaps locking down too much when they could actually be building for the future with their existing resources, or they could be capitalizing on, like Magith was saying, some of the opportunities right now based on how customers are reacting and adapting to their own situations.
And I think,
sorry, Lian?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people and of course some companies delve into misery because they are seeing the numbers and the bottom line is not good. But I think that the companies that will come strong out this situation is the companies that will reinvent themselves and think about innovation, about new things to do, and what the day after is going to look like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in terms of your space, Eitan, like, how are you guys adapting? Because obviously you've got, really good strategies in place. Your business is quite broad. It covers lots of different products. What are some of the key things that you guys are doing in terms of like pivoting right now?
Eitan is not here.
We have lost him again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, one of the people in the chat just said, even Pornhub now has Java code learning tutorials. And I think the key thing that I'm taking away from this is that if we think back to some of the big brands that came out of the last recession, Airbnb, Uber, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation that's going to take place, because people are going to start thinking not just about today, which is what you said, Martin, but also what does tomorrow look like, and how do we actually pivot our businesses tomorrow? And I think affiliates have always been on the kind of front end of being agile and actually to change. So I'm really excited to see how some of the affiliates are going to pivot their businesses. On the flip side to that, hopefully if I can come back and chat to us about this, I do want to understand how operators are dealing with affiliates right now, because there's a lot of programs out there that have minimum quotas. Obviously, affiliates aren't going to be able to meet all of those quotas right now with different markets not being available. So I think we're going to see the text of how brands get and work with their partners in a way. Eitan, you're back. I don't know if you want to do something.
I'm gonna try. I hope you can hear me and see me in a positive way. But I would like to, first of all, very good comments from everyone, and I think there's many sides to this coronavirus outbreak. But one thing that sticks to me on a personal note, and then I'll kind of say what we think about it on Betsson, is that this proves just how fragile our reality is, right? How you cannot trust anything. Like massive operators that have sports books, anything, like it's such a short time. You have to restructure, you have to readjust your strategy and everything So on a daily basis, everything we trust, we cannot trust anymore. So we need to question our business. We need to question our business models. It's like I wrote it in my LinkedIn in the first week of coronavirus. Every business in the world is now a startup. Immediately.
Yeah.
And as Assaf said, some companies take it very hard, cannot adjust to that we cannot do things as we always did. Some companies see it as a challenge, as an opportunity, do housekeeping, look at kind of normal brick and mortar companies or stores. What do? They shut down, they do refurbishment, and they get ready for when it opens, because they know the flux of customers will come back even stronger than before. So this is kind of our industry maturing faster.
Well, I think the maturity thing is quite a good point as well. I mean, Assaf, from your perspective, I always feel like we've always led what the customer needs and what, but I think now, and Magith, you touched on this, we really need to be listening to what customers want, because we need to be fulfilling that gap and being more cognizant of the fact that customers are actually going to decide where they play, how they play, what they want to play on, what they want to, have entertainment with, and really listening to the end user, and then going forward and building the product or service that they need and want. I think it's going to change the pivot the way that we think in our industry. What are your thoughts on it? Yeah,
right now, you have to understand that right now, when we are in the middle of this wave of the pandemic, the offering to users, especially in sports betting, are very slim. There are not a lot of offering. The Tajikistani league, etc. I'm not sure people are fancy it, etc. But we really have to think about the future. I think not about this web and what's happening right now. Of course, we have to adjust right now, but more think about the future and see the user interactions and behaviors. Let's say on esports, we've seen the 2K NBA League and the esports on the Premier League esports between players, etc. With such enthusiasm, and people are really into it, especially the younger generations. So I think that going and thinking forward, we will have to take this into account and put more emphasis on these things, because these things are really interest people, less than the Belarusian football league. Though football is the king of sports, or football and horse racing, let's say, but esports is emerging very fast, and I think the leap that esports is taking right now is like 5 years it would take him without this pandemic.
But also, I mean, we're hearing rumors of a resurgence of poker as well. So, you know, I think we're gonna, as Eitan is saying, plan for change, because what's always worked in the past isn't going to necessarily continue working in the future. And I wanted to move on to our second question, because I am conscious of the time. We were talking about, you know, the impact to businesses, the way that we're going to need to change and pivot our thinking. But what's actually currently happening in terms of budget and media spend or investments? And I know, Martin, you've got a lot of insight on this. So can you maybe kick off with what you guys are seeing from an agency perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably got very direct and objective data on that because, you know, again, we deal with so much of the market. There's basically several types of company. One is the type of company that have money in the bank and is going to try and make the best out of the current situation, in which case they will spend and, again, try and adapt and be innovative, not just pushing people towards the Tajikistan League, but, you know, something that might be more interesting to them. There'll be people who have money in the bank, but who are just psychologically not prepared to maintain their investments or maintain their long-term plan, because they think less money in means we must have less money out. And these people, it is a pity for them. Because right now there are bargains to be had in media buying for sure, across TV and online. Their money can go further than ever before. And if they do have like a long-term plan, like for SEO, having a dip in that activity, it's only going to make the recovery harder, unfortunately. Then we have the people that have really challenged budgets, who are really under pressure, in which case they're just doing what they can to survive. And to be honest, quite a lot of them are the ones that are making the smartest calls because of the necessity. It does focus the mind in many ways. And, you know, Leanne, as you said, affiliates are some of the most agile, not always innovative, but definitely agile, because they're energetic, they're opportunity seeking, and that does lend a certain preparedness to a lot of operations. So I think those are the two types of company that we see innovation coming from. The kind of people who have done well in the past, who have money in the bank and want to press ahead, even if there's some short-term pain. And then the people who are very, very challenged on money, but who, you know, they're not prepared to quit. They're not up for quitting. They're just going to be as clever as they can. And those type of people, they are very welcome to put us as an agency under as much pressure as possible. We will welcome that, because we will do what we can to help. It's the people in the middle that I think are really missing an opportunity when, and it's maybe some of the more corporate companies who they just want to play it safe, but by playing it safe, they really are hurting themselves for August or September time. That's kind of what we're doing.
It's like, well, while we've got you here, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, in terms of budgets and you know, whether you're taking a short-term view or a long-term view, what do you think is the best sort of model to be working on?
So I think that overall, we as a group are always thinking long-term growth, always, and always very much thinking about the sustainability of our business. And this is a test of sustainability, right? If you cut short-term spend, you're going to lose the numbers, because we're not in a vacuum, right? We have competitors. So no, somebody else will be there if you're not there. On the long-term spend, you have to adjust to a very tricky marketing strategy. because the world will change. Brands need to adapt to that. Okay, so you cannot just push the same messaging as you used to do. So I think it's a very tricky time, especially for marketers. You need to be considerate, not too pushy, at the same time sustainable. You don't want to harm the markets. You don't want to harm other companies. We need to tread carefully. I feel that still we are in the early stage of understanding what to do. So we're treading carefully. We're keeping our eyes and ears to the ground and listening to the different markets. Because also, if you look at regulation, it was actually happening from an advertising point of view. You see markets acting super differently, right? Very much. Yeah.
I mean, we spoke about this here in the UK. They've just issued an instruction to stop television and radio advertising. What does that actually mean for affiliates? And Assaf, I'm probably going to come to you next after this, but you're 100% correct, Eitan. It's, you really do have to start looking at individual markets and then leveraging that marketing strategy. So
exactly.
Really
Think about it completely different. Spain stopping online marketing for a while, then extending. Latvia stopping operations at all, and then now thinking about it. So there's a lot of politics also involved here, right? With the different markets and how they react, and the government being either popular in their decisions or unpopular in their decisions. Now we're starting to see a bit of an openness, right? Even here in Malta, we're starting things to start getting a bit back to normal. And let's see how this rolls. And then accordingly, we need to plan our budgets and marketing strategies. But very tricky time. We are very much tested, in my view.
Yeah. Assaf, what are your thoughts from an affiliate perspective in terms of whether you're spending or playing it safe?
I'll tell you, I share some numbers. We are heavily invested in sports betting. So we were heavily also hit by this pandemic, both B2C and B2B, because B2C wise, our revenue fell by 75%, to tell the truth.
Wow.
And B2B, we had to come forward to our clients and take the extra mile, because frankly, they are not getting what they were supposed to get, not horse racing wise, not football wise, etc. The Belarusian football is not a real solution. So we had to think long term, as we spoke here before, and decide, okay, we have a written contract. Are we going to force the written contract, or think about what will happen in 5 months when this contract will be over? And we have to go meditate with these clients. And frankly, we are not earning enough, and budgets will be very tight. I tend to. Of course, for large media companies, they have deeper pockets, and they can go on right now and invest in the future, as Eitan says, because bigger companies are always thinking about the future. But we have to do a mediation between what we have and what we can do. So things are going to change dramatically. I think all over the landscape is going to change. We'll talk about this afterwards, but we have to change our offerings, etc. And with a tight budget, you can also think a little bit more creatively, more outside of the box, because you are very tight with budget. It's aligned with every other, like the situation in hospitals in Israel, that the situation was very tight budget-wise, but they managed to pull it off. So we are we have to learn from different industries, different markets, and see how it's going to happen and how we are going to capitalize from this situation. Of course, with a tight budget.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Magith, I just wanted to come to you quickly just to talk, because I know that you mentioned the kind of UNV spikes and how these data points can maybe impact some of your decisions in terms of really taking that user engagement piece and figuring out how to maybe move forward in this uncertain time. I don't know if you want to maybe speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. When this happened, most of the companies, they started to think about, are we going to survive, right? So that's the first question. And then they started to think positively. I'm talking about few companies, few industries. So they were thinking in terms of, okay, the economy is going to take a deep dip. and then it's going to rise immediately. So that's the V shape. So this is what happened in 1953 recession, right? So it stays for a couple of quarters and then it takes back again. But there are like certain companies, for example, if you look at travel and hospitality, they were thinking more in terms of the U-shaped dip, which means like it's going to drop down, it's going to stay there for like some time. So U-shape would stay around like 12 to 24 months it would take to recover. So that's why you see travel and hospitality industries closing down businesses and sending people home. But also the other dip is the W dip, which is also called the double dip. So which means it's going to be dropping down tremendously, which happened on the 22nd of March. Literally every company's stock came down, and then it went to a rise, and then the analysts are predicting that it could happen again in like few months time, and then it will be like permanent. So based on these analysis, companies are trying to think about what can we do in terms of this specific period of time. For example, digital transformation. One of the things that I read in the internet, which is it's a multiple answer question. Who led the digital transformation in your company? Option A, CEO. Option B, CTO. And option C, COVID-19. And the true answer is COVID-19, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be thinking about digital transformation at all. So in this 2 to 3 quarters, what are companies doing is like vitally important for survival, right? First thing, taking care of people and their mental health, right? What are you doing as a businesses to adopt to this change? Because if you think about it, workplace and home are same for like all of us now. So if you have kids, you have like another challenges because they don't have school, etc., etc. And on the business side, communication is key. What are the tools that you have in place? Every company struggle with communication, even on a face-to-face office level, right? So if everybody are stuck at home, what do you do to enable your people to communicate in a cohesive way? Do you already have the tools in place? And this is what challenging for all the, let's say, traditional companies who are never used to engage in a digital way. They have to start everything from the scratch. Right? And tech companies, they would jump easily, quickly, and adopt to those changes. So these are a few things companies have to do even before thinking about the product and bringing in more revenue. And the third thing companies are really focusing on at the moment is retaining the existing customer, because this is really key in moving into the next quarter, right? The focus is not about acquiring new customers, but about how can we retain. For example, all the brands that you engage with on a regular basis, they are also going through this struggle, right? So how can you be there for them as a vendor, as an affiliate, and go ahead and tell them, hey, we are here to support you every step of the way, which means you wanted to transform your businesses in a way that you have never engaged before. We are there to help you, and providing them with the right tools and with the right people to move step by step into the next couple of quarters is really important, I believe.
Well, the other thing to think about as well is that this isn't going to change overnight. Like we're looking 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. I mean, we need to be thinking about our marketing strategies and thinking about how we're working with our affiliate partners, with media partners. It is scary because right now, as Martin said, there's the two schools of thought. There's the people that have money and just want to keep their money and safeguard because they know that bad times are coming. And then there's the people that are going, no, we're going to, make hay while the sun shines, take the advantages that we can take, spend the money that we can spend, and actually, engage our audience and keep them loyal to our brand. So I guess my next question, because I'm just conscious of the time, is how's this affecting society? What are your guys' thoughts in terms of, what is this going to look like when we come out? Because everybody's talking about the pivot. Everybody's talking about, where we are now in our headspace and, mental well-being and work and life and everything balanced. But where do you guys, from your expertise standpoint in the industry, because you do have a lot of different expertise here, what do you guys see is going to happen in the future? And Eitan, I'm going to go to you in case we lose you.
feel like a child, but everything I do is essentially to make Martin smile. So as long as I get that, I'm in good stance. But I would say
your personal life,
of course. But I would say on the social side, I feel that it's been said in the beginning of the chat that we are now closer to entertainment, right? It's either I go play blackjack or I go watch a Netflix movie. It's a different thing. It's a different beast. And I believe that once this kind of starts a bit shaping up more and people get out more, we will see people careful with their money, but at the same time, we will see people not careful and spending, kind of overcompensating, understanding that life is so fragile, so immediate. I want to have fun now, because I don't know what the future will happen. It's like this, the world has got a big, as we call it in Hebrew, like a big break, right? Like a massive break, but people still want to have fun now even more. So I believe that, especially in gaming, think about it, all the land-based casinos are closed. This is unheard of. Unheard of that people cannot come and play roulette. So once things are open up, I think that there will be a rush for this. People want to play even more. This could be unstable for our economic side. It would make the whole mix a bit even harder. But entertainment as a whole will just amplify and amplify. I read an interview, just to take another 30 seconds from this. I read an interview with one big owner of movie chains, movie cinemas in Israel, that he says, I see this as massive. People that create content, companies that create content, we will live and prosper for the long time. This is just a short break in another bigger move out of this. The tough part is that they cannot create content because you cannot be outside.
I think for me, I'm a little bit cynical about, people say things will never be the same again. I think human beings are creatures of habit. And sometimes when we see something as being a momentous change, like even in your personal life, you go to the gym for 6 months, or you start to learn piano or something. Sometimes we just creep back into our normal habits. And I think some corporations will do that because they'll be like, yeah, that was okay, it worked well, but we kind of want you all in the office now. Or we kind of want to do things the old way. I think so some of that stuff will come back. But right now, and for the foreseeable future, I think, just to build off what Magith was saying earlier, I think it's almost a more democratic time if you are kind of creating new partnerships or looking for opportunities. Like if you're an affiliate, every one of your operator partners is also working from home. And in many cases, they will have more time for you. They'll be possibly actively bored or fed up with their kids, or they don't want to do something else. They don't want to do the hoovering. So that you might have a chance of a conversation that you didn't have before. So you can reset some things. And I think also, again, to build off something Assaf said earlier, you can be thinking. We have the time to think, and thinking is free. So I think that's a good use of time as well, to think for the future. When things come back, what can I plan for? What ideas do I want to explore? And again, because everybody's at home, and things I feel are a bit more democratic, you can probably speak to that CEO, or you can probably speak to that colleague that you don't normally speak to. People will be inclined to share some ideas. So I think that's a good use of time as well, just to harvest as many ideas as you can. Thinking is free, conversation is usually free, and that's a good use of time for affiliates, I think, any affiliates who might be on the call. Try and use that time, even if you're not able to enact it right now.
Yeah, I must say I'm not too optimistic, let's say, the less optimistic here, but I think this pandemic has waves, and we are on the, let's say, on the end on some parts of the first wave, and probably there's going to be a second wave. So it's a good idea right now also think about, of course, the future, what we are going to do differently, and how people will behave, etc. But how we will cope proactively with the second wave, how we are going to take our expertise and be ready to give the customers, the users, solutions next time. So us, for example, heavily invested in sports betting, as I mentioned. So we are enhancing our offering to esports, virtual sport, etc. Also on the B2B side, because the clients that we have and what we are seeing from the clients right now, they're saying, okay, you are offering us nothing, because they don't tend to offer anything beside the traditional sports. So they also need to adjust. So all of us need to adjust to, in the short term, let's say 1 year from now, there might be different waves of the pandemic, and the long term things will be different. There will be, as Eitan says, there will be a rush to do things, to live the good life, etc. But this will settle, and then will be, because people are very adjustable human beings. Okay, we are humans, are adjustable. There are waves of enthusiasm, there are waves of pandemics, there are waves of everything. But we have to think on both terms, on the second wave, if it will be, hopefully not, and what will be the future.
Totally. Magith, last words from you.
You know, what we have seen is that over the last several years, like consumer behaviors and consumer preferences constantly changes, right? And people tend to adopt to no matter what that is. For example, if you look at the first 4 weeks of pandemic, if you would go to Google Trends and search for toilet paper, and it went high in the second week of March, right? And then it came down, right? So people react to a certain things in a certain way, and then they adopt to it. The challenge is for the companies, right? Companies cannot adopt to the ever-changing consumer behavior and consumer preferences. And companies are put into a position to rethink their strategy. For example, you have been reaching your audience in a completely different way. So now you should be thinking about, I want to refer back to what Martin said, importance of data. You want to listen to all the data that actually comes in from your customers, use the right methods to target those audiences, right? Because if you're not listening to your customers and one of your competitors is doing so well, then obviously you're going to lose your customers, right? Think about how to retain them. Think about how to make a profit out of that rather than rushing into decisions. So the bottom line from my side is consumer behavior preferences constantly changes. Companies should be keeping up with the pace with their customers. And I think that is key in success.
I mean, the thing from my perspective as well, in terms of the way that, you know, I've been running my business, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to continue to do because it doesn't bring me pleasure, and B, I don't think that it's something that I want to pursue. This has been a complete and utter mind change, reset almost. And I think from that, you know, from this experience, even though it's been really, really hard and tough to deal with and businesses have suffered, I think we're going to see people bounce back from it and actually do better because they want to make their time more valuable. They want to serve their customers in a different way. They have maybe learned from this experience. You know, this is the second recession that I've lived through in terms of business, but I think it's, you know, we've got to look at the positive as well as, you know, deal with the negative. And I think that's the kind of message that I'd like to leave everybody on today, is that, you know, there is ways to benefit from this pandemic. You know, utilize it to change your business models, to maybe think about getting into other verticals that you've never gotten into before, to stop doing the stuff that you used to do because you thought your customers wanted it, and to think about what they do actually want, and then pivot and focus on those things. We've got 2 minutes left, and I wanted to see if anybody in the audience wants to ask any questions, because now's the time when we would take those and answer those. So I just want to thank you all for sharing your expertise. You all have a very broad understanding of this industry, and I think you shared some really, really valuable insights for the people that are on this panel. If there are any questions, please do pop into the chat now. I'll just kind of go back through and make sure that we've answered all of those. And I'd like to thank Sultan and his team for putting on this fantastic event and having us all on here. So thank you very much. Somebody mentioned something about Pornhub. Did we answer that question? Yeah, I think we did.
Thanks, Leanne, for facilitating the panel.
Oh.
Well done on this, as usual.
Thank you. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
It doesn't look like we've got any questions, so I will say thank you very much for joining us, and wish you all a very good day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.